Dear Ateeba, we are live. The floor is yours.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's mentorship session hosted by Women Ascension. My name is Ateeba Tajammal, and I am a WACO Fellow, Women Ascension Community Outreach Fellow, and I will be moderating this session today. For those who are joining us for the first time, Women Ascension is a global platform dedicated to empowering women through mentorship, leadership development, and community support. With a presence in over 90 countries and a multidisciplinary structure spanning 10 departments from STEM and climate action to peace building and media, it provides a space where women from all walks of life can lead, learn, and lift others. So, our vision is to nurture 1 million women leaders by 2030. The 1 Million Leadership Fellowship is the flagship program of Women Ascension. It's designed to nurture emerging leaders through a 16-week immersive experience that blends personal growth with global impact. So today's session is a part of a community outreach series called Mental Health and Wellbeing. Our topic for today is Stronger Minds, Coping and Resilience Strategies. Objectives for today's session are to understand the foundations of mental resilience and why it matters for emotional well being, to explore common stresses and challenges faced by youth, women, and communities, to learn practical coping strategies, including grounding techniques, mindfulness, emotional regulation, and self care routines, to develop adaptive responses for difficult situations and build long term resilience. And for this lecture, we have a very honorable Miss Mehwish Arshad with us, who will be guiding us through this incredibly meaningful discussion. Ms. Mehwish Arshad is a consultant clinical psychologist, couples and relationship therapist, and a dedicated mental health advocate. She is a global UGrad Fulbright alumna and the CEO and the founder of social community called Let's Understand the Cycle. She actively delivers webinars as part of her community outreach efforts to help psychoeducate people on diverse psychological and mental health issues. Her areas of expertise include cognitive behavior therapy, internal family systems, and integrative relationship therapy. And she has done few specialized courses and trainings, including psychological first aid from Johns Hopkins University, the art and science of relationships from University of Toronto, suicide and trauma from Arizona Trauma Institute. Without further delay, let's begin our session. Miss Mahwish, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ateeba, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. And today we are going to talk about a universal human experience that is about facing challenges. As you can see from the topic we have here today is coping and resilience strategies, which is basically thriving through adversities. So, we will discuss several things about it, but more importantly, we'll explore the tools and mindsets that not only help us get through them, but actually allow us to grow stronger in the process. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am, you're clear and audible.
Okay, because I'm facing some disruption. So, okay. So let's move on to the agenda for the session. Can we move on to the first slide, please? Ms. Atiba, can we move on to the first slide, please? Okay, so
I
here's
have
our
shared the
for
slide.
the next hour.
I hope I.
We will start by defining our key terms, and then we'll dive deep into the how part of coping. We'll then shift to building long term resilience. We'll look at few real world examples And as you know that this is a skill building series, so we will end with a practical plan that you can take with you. So let's discuss what is coping. Okay, because you know that we have a limited time here, and I would like to leave 10 to 15 minutes for your questions as well. So I will try to keep my presentation as to the point as possible. These are the concepts that you can dive deeper into later on if there is some gap in the understanding, or you can put out the questions and I can answer them also. Okay, so let's see what is coping. As the definition suggests, that it is basically conscious effort to solve personal and interpersonal problems to manage stress or conflict. If I present this analogy to you, that these are the specific tools you use to put out a fire. So there are certain things or planning that we have to do before an adversity arrives. Or and then there are certain things that we would do when we are facing the adversity. So when we talk about coping, it's basically those tools that we are going to use that are immediately needed to deal with the adversity. As the analogy suggests here, that these are the specific tools you use to put out a fire. In comparison to that, when we see what is resilience, this is basically the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, or significant stress. It is bouncing forward, not just bouncing back. So, you would have heard this concept about resilience, that this is the ability of one person to bounce back in the face of adversity. I'm adding today in this by mentioning that it also requires bouncing forward. This bouncing forward means moving on in life. So, the analogy that helps understanding this concept is the fireproofing of the architecture of building that is done to prevent the fire from causing collapse of the building. So basically, coping is what you do in the moment, and resilience is the capacity that you build over time. It is very crucial to distinguish between these two because coping is your immediate reaction. Another example would be like taking deep breaths before a big presentation, and resilience is your underlying ability to handle that presentation that is built from past experiences, your support system, and your self belief. Okay, so moving on to the coping strategies, there are basically two main types of coping. The first one is problem focused coping. It means that tackling the problem that causes the stress. It means directly attending to what needs attending to. So, some of the examples would be creating a to do list for a task, seeking information, talking to a manager about a workload issue. The second type of coping strategy is emotion focused coping. It is basically managing the emotional response to the stress. So, you see, one requires actively dealing with the problem, and the other one requires actively managing the emotional response to stress. So, some of the examples of this type of coping would be meditation, journaling, talking to a friend, or exercising. So, the goal here is to have a balanced toolkit and know when to use which tool. So, for example, you think of a stressful work project. A problem focused approach is to break the project into steps and delegate. However, an emotion focused approach is to go for a run to clear your head of anxiety so you can then focus on the problem. You know, both are valid and necessary in certain conditions. I hope I'm clear up till now. Okay,
Yes, ma'am, you are.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so moving on, we have adaptive versus maladaptive coping. Now, we also name it as healthy coping. The adaptive coping is also named as healthy coping. What happens in this is it reduces the stress in a sustainable way. For example, when you exercise or you seek social support, you do mindfulness or time management or professional therapy, then it reduces your stress in a considerable way. So it is considered as a healthy way of coping and basically actively dealing with the problem too. The other one is maladaptive or unhealthy coping. What happens in this is it can provide the short term relief, but it increases the long term harm. Some of the examples would be like avoiding the problem. So, what happens is when some people are faced with the adversity or any challenge, what they do is you have seen certain people get involved in drugs or alcohol or just pushing the problem inside and not discussing about it. Now, what happens is that it can give you a short term relief, but in the longer run, it can cause a lot of problems for you. So, you can get involved in substance abuse, there would be excessive alcohol, emotional outburst, or self isolation. This is basically a very critical distinction. While avoidance might make you feel better for an hour or so, but it makes the problem bigger. So, if you're seeking support, it might feel difficult in the moment, but it leads to a real solution. So, the key here is to notice when you are reaching for a maladaptive tool and you consciously choose a healthier one. So we talked about coping up till now. Now we will be discussing some core pillars to build resilience. So as you know that resilience is a trait that you're not born with, but it's a skill that you can build. So that is the good news here, that if you work on it, you can build the resilience. The five key pillars are self-awareness, mindfulness and self-care, realistic optimism, support network, purpose, and goals. Let's look into each of these. So, when we talk about self awareness, what we really mean is that we understand the emotions, triggers, and strengths. Ms. Atiba, I'm still dealing with the last slide. Can you please go back? Thank you. So, when we talk about mindfulness and self care, it means managing your energy and staying present. Realistic optimism means accepting reality while maintaining hope. Support network means here having strong and positive relationships. Purpose and goals, they give you a sense of meaning and something to strive for. Now, let's think of resilience as a house. So, these five pillars would be its foundational support. If one is weak, the whole structure is more vulnerable. So, we will now look at how to strengthen each one. Okay, so you can move on to the next slide, Ms. Atiba. So, when we talk about the resilience pillar one, we see self awareness and mindfulness. As I already told you what self awareness is, we are going to talk about the strategy here. So, here we see there is the why drill. When you feel stressed, you ask yourself why until you find the root cause. One example that you can understand this concept better with is, so when you say that you get a feedback about something and you say that I'm angry about this feedback, you ask yourself why. Say one of the reasons would be because you worked so hard for that. Then you ask yourself, why does that matter? If the answer is because I am afraid of being seen as incompetent, then the root cause would be fear. Now, this is just one example. Everybody will have a different answer to their why. The strategy here is to keep asking yourself until you find the root cause. So, when we talk about mindfulness, there are different strategies that we can use to ground ourselves and deal with the anxiety. One of the strategy is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique. So what does this mean is when you get stressed or anxious, you name 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 that you can taste. So if we talk about it in the very core terms, self awareness is the bedrock. You cannot manage what you don't understand. The grounding technique is simple yet powerful tool to pull you out of an anxiety spiral and back into the present moment. Do you think that these strategies are helpful or has anyone tried these before?
I did practice few mindfulness techniques. This is not one of them, but that really helped in very stressful situation when
Mhm.
I have lots and lots of workload.
I'm glad to know that it works for you. Anyone else would like to share?
Yes, Miss Zoa is also telling that yes, they are helpful. And even in my own experience, I have observed that it has made me calmer and shifted my focus from reaction to a response.
I'm so glad to know that. I'm sure more people would have more opinions, but for now, let's move on to the other resilience pillar and see what strategies we can have in our toolkit. Okay, so when you talk about support networks, what happens is what is more important here is that you map your support system. Like who is in your inner circle, who provides practical help, who provides emotional support, and you don't need to be afraid to be specific in asking for what you need. So what happens that when we have a circle of people, some people are good at problem solving, some people they raise the bar for emotional dealing, they are a very good emotional support. So be conscious about that what you need and to whom you can go to when you need that specific thing. So, the purpose and goal here is connect to the daily tasks to a larger why. For example, if I'm not just compiling data, I'm contributing to a report that will help my company make a strategic decision. Now, what happens is the information about self awareness, it will help you to know the root cause. Meditation would help you to balance and deal with your anxiety. Then support network would help you. It will be like making a report. You're collecting data at different points. So you can make a strategic decision and that would become your coping mechanism at the end. So I heard someone say that isolation is the enemy of resilience and purpose is the fuel. So it is very important to know your why. That makes how much more bearable the things that could be creating problems for you. So it means that it transforms a challenge from a threat into a meaningful obstacle to overcome. Okay, so after this, we are going to discuss two case studies and see that what can be done in a specific situation. So the first case study is about professional setback. Ms. Atiba, you can move on to the next slide, please. So we have a situation where Maria is a marketing manager and she leads a high profile product launch that fails to meet targets. So the initial reaction would be shock, shame, or fear of being fired. Maladaptive coping would be avoiding colleagues and ruminating about it negatively. So, when we see the resilience plan in action, in this situation, what self awareness would look like is she would acknowledge her feelings of failure but separates them from her identity. It means that she would acknowledge that she failed at a task rather than saying that she is a failure. What support network in this specific situation would look like? She would talk to a trusted mentor who helps her reframe the event as a learning opportunity. So we see that the healthy coping is basically problem focused coping. So if she conducts a thorough postmortem analysis to identify what went wrong, it will give her a clear perspective about where the things got wrong and led to the failure. What realistic optimism would look like in this situation? She would present the analysis to leadership with a plan for the future. So it will demonstrate accountability and growth. If she would work with this resilience plan, then the outcome might be that she earns greater respect from her superiors and she would be entrusted with the next major project. Now, what happens in this is this Maria did not ignore the failure. She leaned into it, she used her coping tools, and her built up resilience allowed her to turn a major setback into a career defining moment of growth. So, you see how the awareness about self and following this resilience plan can help you thrive in life. Let's look at another example. We look at the professional adversity. The other example is about the personal adversity. So, we have a situation here where David is a student and he's facing a serious health diagnosis in his family. The initial reaction would be overwhelmed feelings, anxiety, inability to focus on studies. If we see the resilience plan in action for this problem, first that person would need to deal with their emotions. So, emotion focused coping, he would use journaling or short walks to process the grief and fear. Then, what the support network would look like in this situation, he would clearly communicate his situation to his professors and friends, accepting offers to help with notes and meals. What would be the purpose and goal in this situation? It would be adjusting his academic goals temporarily so he can focus on being good enough rather than being a perfectionist to preserve energy for his family. So, at times we really need to see that where we need to put our energies, we need to prioritize. I know for a student, academics are very important, but if you're facing some challenges about health for yourself or your family member, then it's okay to shift your energy or your priorities to the family first. Okay, so it's very important to acknowledge self care here. If the person cannot take care of himself, then it's not possible for him to help the family members. So he would have to prioritize sleep and nutrition so that he knows that he cannot support others if he's depleted. If he follows all of this, the outcome would be that he gets through the crisis without burning out. He would be able to maintain his academic standing and he would feel closer to his support network. So, David's story basically shows that resilience is not about being a superhero or a being know it all. It's actually being about human. You know your limits, you use your strategies and support system to navigate a storm basically that you never asked for. So I hope that these examples are interesting for you and there would be a few things that you can take home with you. Would you like to share anything? Any opinion, any feedback, any adversity that you went through? Anyone?
Yes,
My
ma'am. I think I have something to share or to ask. Can I go ahead?
okay,
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. You can go
Okay.
ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Because I do offer mental health and psychosocial support. So some challenging moments are, for example, when let's say I come across someone suffering from, let's say, cancer of any type, how can that person really manage the situation? Because I think the mental health condition of patients with NCDs is really a challenging circumstance. Some don't even want to take medications. I've actually come across a situation where the doctor who is managing the patient gives medications and the patient says it's too small. He will not even take, and those kind of distress. So what can we really? How can those patients really manage the situation? Like you hear, you have been diagnosed of that problem, and how would you really manage so that it shouldn't break you down. You should have hope, because I think one of the things that really kill is the psychological or the mental health aspect of those conditions. Then another scenario is someone who is um, having difficulties conceiving with all, let's say, for example, in Africa, with all the stress from left and right, in-laws, and it's not coming. And we also know that the psychological aspect of it also hinders the conception process. So how can those two situations be managed? Thank you.
okay, thank you for sharing this, but there was a lot of disruption when you were talking. So, what I understood is if someone is diagnosed with a certain problem and they are taking medication, then in that case, that you face, you have a diagnosis, a serious diagnosis. And what about the mental health in this case? Is that right? Was that your question? And then I think
Yes,
you
ma'am. Yes,
asked
ma'am.
about the
That's the
problems with
question.
conception. I think that is it related to fertility or something?
Yes, yes, ma'am. It's related to fertility.
Okay, so your question is that a person is diagnosed with some mental health problem and they are having problems with fertility also. Or you ask that a person is having problems with conception, they cannot conceive, and how would this affect their mental health or how to manage mental health in this condition while you're taking medications for fertility problem? Was that your question?
Yes, ma'am. Cancer diagnosis, mental health in cancer diagnosis, and mental health in fertility issues. Thank you.
for shifting the
Okay,
question this time.
so I will give you a general answer about that. We are going to discuss the resilience plan also. This can work in any situation, be it illness diagnosis or be it any medical issue, academic issue, personal issue, professional issue. This is basically the roadmap to what do you say? Building your resilience. So, in any situation, say someone is facing the fertility issues, I know it adds up to the pressure and it's not easy to take care of your mental health in this situation when you're constantly stressed out. But the key here is, as we saw in the second case study, where there was a personal adversity with the student. That was a case with a family member, but if you apply that on yourself, then what happens is, first of all, you need to deal with your emotions. Because if you're sad, you're feeling disappointed, you're afraid of what's going to happen, how long it's going to take, it's very important to deal with your emotions first. Because if you're going to push down your emotions, it would not be easy to comprehend the next step, what to do about the problem actually. Then there should be some trusted people that you can go to and discuss your problem, talk your heart out. If you don't have those, then you can always go to a mental health practitioner while you're facing some serious diagnosis about any illness. Generally, people tend to discuss their even their daily life problems where they're feeling confused if they don't have a social support network. They go to the therapist for very ordinary things because it's confusing for them and it's important for them, no matter how ordinary it seems. But in the cases where it seems like it's very stressful for you or it's very critical to manage, I would advise to definitely take professional help. So, in that situation, if you are dealing with your emotions, you have a social support network and self care. I know it's very hard to take care of yourself when you are constantly thinking about one thing and you are going through medical issues, but it is essential to take care of yourself at that time. And these are the core things that would help you to deal with the present situation. If you cannot take care of yourself, then, if you're not sleeping well, if you're not eating well, all it's going to do is add up to the problem that you're facing. So I hope you got a general answer about the issue that you were asking. Is that clear to
Yes,
you?
ma'am. Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So, without a further ado, let's move on to developing a personal resilience action plan. There are a lot of people who cannot go to the therapist, they cannot seek professional help due to financial issues or family issues, or because they feel that there would be a name tagging or stigma attached to it. So, for those, they can do this on their own and see if it helps with the problem. First step in developing your personal resilience action plan is that you identify your top stressor, the thing that's stressing you out. It's very important to identify. If you identify the problem, then it's very easy to deal with it. If you don't identify the problem correctly, then of course you are going to be spiraling about it. So, for example, what is the issue? Is it work deadlines? Is it conflict with a colleague? Dealing with an illness? Issue with a friend? Issue in academics? It can be anything. Once you identify your stressor, then you can move on to step two. Okay, if you like, you can do it while I'm talking about it. You can get a paper and pencil and start doing it. We can take pauses for a minute or so if you want to do it with me. If you can vote that you would want to do it right now, or you just want to have it in your toolkit. Our audience is less interactive today. Okay, so I'll put it out for you and you can do it in your free time or whenever you see it's possible for you. Okay, so once you identify your stressor, then audit your coping tools. Now, what does that mean? We have seen that there is maladaptive coping and there is adaptive coping, healthy and unhealthy. So, what is one maladaptive coping mechanism that you can reduce? You need to figure out that. And what is one adaptive coping mechanism that you can add or strengthen? So, it is basically identifying one of the weakness and one of the strengths in your coping skills. Once you do that, then you would move on to strengthen at least one of the five pillars. So choose one pillar, either self awareness, mindfulness, support, optimism, or purpose. Sometimes it helps people in adversity to just get their head down with work. They just, whenever they feel something, it's not they cannot deal with it, what they do is they bury themselves in work. Now, I would not say that this is a healthy coping strategy, but at time it gives you time to deal with the problem and just the strength to come back to it. So see that which pillar is more important for you, more workable for you, and try to strengthen it. And what is one small action that you can take this week to strengthen it? It's very important to do because if we just keep on taking these things with us and not taking any action about it and not actually practicing this, then this is not going to help. So, I would ask all of you to work on this, on building this personal resilience action plan and see at least one small action that you can take this week to strengthen one of your pillars. And the next important step is who is in your support network. You name one person that you can connect with this week. So it's a very simple plan. It has 4 steps, but it's easier said than done. So it's very possible that some people take time on step one or step two or step three or step four. It's fine. You can take your time, think about it, and personalize it as your needs. So I would say that knowledge without action is basically meaningless. I would like to take 2 minutes for reflection and I would see that what is your takeaway for today. I will be sharing the key takeaways for today's session and summarize it. But before that, if any of you would like to share what is the takeaway from today's session,
Miss Cheetos, you can unmute yourself and share.
Hello, ma'am. Well, I learned that we need to address our issues and not personalize them. If I make a mistake, I'm not a mistake. I just made a mistake, and that doesn't define me. That's what I learned.
That's a great takeaway. Because it's very hard to for people to differentiate their actions from their personality. If someone fails at one thing, they consider themselves as a failure rather than seeing that part as a failed attempt. So it's a great takeaway. Thank you for sharing that. Would
Thank you so
anyone
much.
You're
else like
welcome,
to
ma'am.
share the takeaways?
Yes, there's Barbara. Please, Barbara, unmute yourself and start speaking.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to our presenter today. Um, what I take out with me is having to prioritize my activities or duties, especially at work, making sure you meet deadlines and then you organize, you structure yourself. Because I think I personally have been overwhelmed sometimes because of the failure to do that. So thank you for pointing that out very well. And also knowing how
Oh,
to cope. Yeah.
I'm glad that you found it helpful. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that.
Yeah.
Mr. Fawad, you can unmute yourself.
Hello everyone, I hope everyone doing well. So one of the takeaways is that small actions create big change. Even simple habits like reflection, self-care, and asking for support can significantly improve how you handle the stress.
Yes, that is a great takeaway because at times it's really hard to ask someone that you need help. This is the hardest step. Once you ask someone or take steps to deal with the problem on your own, then it becomes easier. So the hardest step is asking for help. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing the
true.
takeaway.
My pleasure.
Anyone else would like to share, or we can move to the summary of the.
Yes, ma'am. I can share my own takeaway for today
Mm-hmm.
is that resilience is not a trait that we are born with, but a skill that we can learn. Because sometimes some people think that others are too strong to do what they do, but I think each and everyone can actually learn it as a skill to be resilient in times of adversity. Thank you. That's my takeaway for today.
And thank you so much for highlighting that. That is basically one of the key takeaways that I was going to mention too. Because when we know that something is innate or we are born with, when people know that they don't have enough of it, they get disappointed. But when there's a chance to build that thing, it actually gives us hope. So, knowing that resilience is buildable, that is very hopeful for people. So, thank you for sharing the takeaway. Okay, so let's discuss the key takeaways from today's session. We saw that coping is the immediate toolkit and resilience is the long term foundation. So now you know the difference between adaptive coping, that basically heals, and maladaptive coping, that is basically that harms you in the long term. Resilience is buildable, it is not innate. If you focus on the five pillars, that you can help yourselves in building resilience and making the action plan workable for you. The most resilient people, they are not those who avoid adversity, but they are those who learn and grow from it. So, to summarize, you now have a framework for understanding your stress responses, a practical plan for building your capacity to handle your life's inevitable challenges. Thank you so much. My contact information is with you in the next slide. My email, my LinkedIn, and my Instagram account. I would love to connect with you. And there are some helpful resources. One of the book is Option B by Cheryl and Adam Grant. And there are some online applications like Headspace or Calm. They are for mindfulness. Some hotlines, and I haven't added the link here for the hotline because it's different for every region. So you can like Google it or something, and you would find some helpful hotline which deals with the immediate mental health issues. Thank you, Women Ascension, for the opportunity and for your time and engagement. Thank you, all of you. I'd now be happy to answer any question or feedback that you may have. And that's all from my side today.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. Mehwish. It's been such a beautiful session learning about coping and resilience. It's really, really one of the important tools that we need these days to be able to cope with all what we have in front of us as challenges as a global people. So we thank you all for joining us today, and we hope this session has offered valuable insights and practical strategies that you can apply in your daily lives to strengthen your mental resilience. Once more, a heartfelt thank you to Mrs. Mehwish Ashad and for sharing her expertise and guiding us and
Thank you,
compassion.
Camo. And
We,
it's
yeah,
a privilege to share which knowledge that I have. It's a privilege to share this knowledge with all of you. And I'd be very glad if this actually helps people and they practice it.
yes, ma'am, and we highly appreciate those who are active and engaged, and we encourage you to stay connected to Women Ascension for upcoming sessions, learning opportunities, and community initiatives. Together, we continue to support, uplift, and empower one another. Wishing you all peace, positivity, and strength ahead. Thank you very much, everyone, and a blessed evening day to us all.
Thank you
So
so
ma'am,
much.
yes, you can-
Yes, Ms. Kanvi, you can continue. I just wanted to ask our speaker to answer one of the questions that is available in the chat box that is asked by our fellow Ms. Clara. She's asking that, like, on these pillars, does someone has to start with one? Which one is best to start with for the better recovery?
Okay, it's basically what you need. So we call this action plan. It is able to like make it personalized for a reason. So, for example, one person is very self-dependent, and it's very hard for them to ask for help. They like to find ways to deal with the situations on their own. In this situation, it would be better to be self aware. Okay, so in this specific situation where you are very self dependent and you don't like to ask others for help, it would be beneficial to work more on the self awareness part. So if there is someone who doesn't have a problem in asking for help, or they are really open and social and they find it easy to talk about their problems, or they have a close inner circle, so in this situation it would be more helpful to build up a social support network. So I hope you're getting my point. It is a very personal choice to work on uh, which pillar that which is more effective for you. I hope that answers the question. Does that answer your
Yes, it
question?
does. It
Okay.
does. I hope that the fellow is clear about her question. I personally wanted to ask one question that, like, in our surrounding, there are people who are suffering from issues, and there are so many things that are going on. So sometimes they share with us, but we try to help them, but sometimes we struggle, and it affect our mental health as well. So in that particular situation, how should we cope up with ourselves and also contribute to like sort out their mental issues as well? Because in extreme situations, they need, I would say, professional help, but sometimes like their family or friends can also help out them. So how can I, as a friend, can help my friend who is like dealing with problems such as overthinking or like getting anxious? So is there anything that I can do, but it does not affect my health as well? So it is more like an advice I need
Okay.
from you as a psychologist, as a professional psychologist.
I'm sorry, your voice just got lost. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I hope that my question or
Yeah,
the
I
way you've
heard your
asked.
question. So,
Thank you.
for first of all, that what I understood is how you can help a person and in such a way that it doesn't affect your mental health. Is that the crux of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So the first thing is whatever you tell our clients to do as psychologists and as professionals, this is applicable to ourselves as well. For example, if I'm giving you a resilience action plan today and I get stuck in any problem in my life, then this is first for me to use and build my resilience upon that plan. So, whatever we give our clients, it is workable for us. And we have to start with that. We need to take care of ourselves, we need to actually build upon those pillars. Second thing, there is nothing like not getting affected by anything, any traumatic thing that you hear from a friend, or you saw there were a lot of political things going on in the past days, and all of us were getting affected by that because we're humans and we have certain emotions and we will get affected by any traumatic thing that we hear. So, in that case, we have to practice mindfulness. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to be more self aware so that when we get affected, we understand that point and can help others better. I hope it answers your question.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for answering my query. There's one person raising their hand. So for what, you can unmute yourself, and after that, we will close the session.
Okay, thanks a lot for giving me the time. I just want to ask that what is the most effective way to stay consistent with our resilience plan, especially during stressful times?
Okay, so as I said earlier, that it's about prioritizing. For a student, academics are the most important thing, but when something comes up in your family, like an illness or any other adversity or stressful situation, it's okay to put academics on the second priority and family on the first. So, in the adversities or tough times, you need to ask yourself what is more important to you? What is the priority here? Look, we do not build the resilience plan, action plans in adversities. We do it in our daily life so that when adversities come, this becomes an automatic response. We don't start doing it when we are hit by the adversities or stressful situations. So I hope that this small answer it gives you the clarity about your question.
Thanks a lot, Miss. I got my answer. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mr. Fawad. I think that's about it with the question. So I'll be taking the leave now. If you still have any questions, you're free to connect with me on LinkedIn or my Instagram account. From my side, thank you so much, everyone, and take care.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to close the session, and I'm really grateful for our mentor, Miss Mehwish, to give her time and energy today. And like hearing her voice is very calming, and it's more like a healing itself. So I'm really glad to be part of the session, and I hope that we will be learning from her in the upcoming sessions as well. So thank you so much, Ms. Mehwish, for being here and sharing some learning points with us. First, like for me, this is more like a reminder to myself that how can I really prioritize myself and my emotions, and with that I should um, change myself in a better way, that I help others and I help myself as well. So yes, mental health is very important and we all should take care of ourselves, and I am very happy that you become part of this session. To all my participants, thank you so much, and I hope that you all learned something that will help you out. And yeah, thank you so much on behalf of Women Ascension and Dr. Mahina as well. Stay blessed. Goodbye.